Okay, we are now to step 2, and if you will notice, I have 3 examples of my background. This was what we did in step 1. You only have to do 2. I have pink for my radial design, I have a light green for my symmetrical design, and I have a light brown for my asymmetrical design. So if you'll notice, with step 2 it says cut your shapes. Using different construction paper colors, cut out shapes in multiples to create your design composition. These may be organic shapes or geometric shapes. Remember, organic shapes have curved edges and geometric shapes have straight edges. So you can use a combination of both or all the same. It's up to you. Make sure that you cut your shapes out neatly using good craftsmanship. If you do not cut your shapes out neatly, it makes your whole project look a little messy. So please, when you are using your scissors, make sure you're cutting out neatly. Okay, so I have my background colors already decided, and now I have to decide what colors the shapes should be. I think for my light green, I'm going to go with orange shapes. So I'm going to cut some orange for my symmetrical design. For my pink, I think I want the shapes to be dark brown. I think that'll contrast nicely. And then for my asymmetrical design with the brown background, I've decided to go with blue shapes. Okay? Now, if you'll notice, it says cut the shapes out in multiples. I'm going to start with the orange, my color choice for my symmetrical design. When you have to cut shapes out in multiples, I want to show you how to do that much more easily. I am going to be using some curvy, I think I'm going to use some curvy teardrop shapes for this design. I'm going to use a bunch of different designs, but let me show you how you can do multiples. I'm going to need maybe 4 of a certain shape. So I'm going to cut my paper. This is the orange that I've decided to cut my shapes out of. And I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to fold it. If you take your paper and you fold it in half, and then you fold it in half again, it's actually 4 papers thick. So now it's got 4 layers. So when I cut out, let me do a curvy shape. This would be considered an organic shape. I want it to look kind of curvilinear. And there it is. Okay, so as you can see, I've got this shape. But now, instead of just having 1 copy of it, I have 4. They're exactly the same. So now I know if I put 2 on one side of my design, I will have 2 to place on the other side of my design. Because remember, symmetrical designs are going to be the same on both sides. Think of a butterfly. If the wings go up on this side, they have to have another wing going up on that side. So that is how you cut a shape out in multiples. Now, if you recall though, we had to do 8 sections for our radial design. So if you chose radial design for one of your balance examples, then you're going to need 8 copies of the same shape. So I had decided to do brown with this on the pink paper. So with this paper, I'm now going to do the same thing with my brown. I have to cut multiples. So if I want a multiple of 8, 8 pieces of paper are going to be pretty hard to cut through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to fold it like I did before. I hope this is okay to see. I know brown on brown. But I'm going to fold it in half and fold it in half again. So I have 4 sheets of paper. And I'm going to cut out the shape that I want. This one's going to be a curvy, squiggly line with a little rounded head. Okay? But this only gives me 4, right? I need 4 more. See, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, come on. Here it is. Okay? So I have 4 of these shapes, but I need 4 more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to take, and I'm going to set these right here so you can see them. I'm going to take my brown paper again. I'm going to cut it again. I like to cut it into strips so that when I fold it, it's a little bit easier to control. So I'm going to fold it in 4ths again. And now I'm going to take one of these and use it as a template. I'm going to lay it down. I can either trace around it with my pencil or I can just cut it. I'm just following the edge of the shape. Because remember, these have to be cut out neatly. So if you have a lot of jagged edges because you have a difficult time with the scissors, you might get somebody to help you cut them. I certainly do not mind if you want to ask an older brother or sister or your mom or dad to help you cut it. That's totally fine. So now I have 4 more. So now if I put this shape in one slice, I will have enough to have it in all 8. I hope you all can see that clearly. Okay? So for step 2, it says cut your shapes in multiples to create your design composition. So I am going to take my brown paper and I'm going to cut out a bunch of different shapes. I might cut some circles. I might cut some more teardrop shapes, but I'm going to cut everything so that I have 8 copies of each. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my orange paper, for my symmetrical design. And then I've decided that I'm going to use the blue paper for my asymmetrical design. Now with an asymmetrical design, you do not have to have the same thing on both sides. It's not symmetrical. So you can cut any shapes you want for an asymmetrical design, but please keep in mind you might want multiples of that shape to make creating the composition a little bit easier. Now, if you recall, I folded this paper into 4ths, but this time I'm going to fold it into 6 pieces. Okay, let me show you how to do that. Fold it in half. And then once you've done that, fold this part over and then back on itself. And that way you can cut shapes out. And now I would have 6 copies. Maybe for this one, I want to do triangles. So I'm going to cut out triangles. And now look, I have 6 triangles instead of just 2